Hello everyone, this is Vanshikha Bansal. I'm going to be your course guide throughout this Excel course. So let us begin today with our first lesson, that is Introduction to Excel. And in this first lesson, we are going to do the main basic topics that we are going to cover is opening and saving a file, components of an Excel file, the entering data with some keyboard shortcuts, and basic editing of the data. So let's begin. So first of all, in order to open Excel, in case of Windows, we are going to go to Start, and we are going to search Excel EXCEL, and that's how Excel opens from the Microsoft Office. And in case of MacBook, we are going to press Command and Spacebar and search in Excel. That's how Excel opens for us. Here I'm using a MacBook, but even for those using a Windows desktop, it's going to be very similar to what I'm using out here. So don't think that it's going to be difficult for you, since this is a different operating system that I'm using. 90 to 95% of whatever I'm using, it's going to be completely the same. Now if you see, this is how Excel opens the moment we open the Excel app. Is here you can see a blank workout, welcome to Excel, and a list different things. Now if you see here, recents of my files come up. However, this is not going to be the same for those using Windows. It's just for the ones using MacBook operating system. So here if you see, this is how it's going to look for a Windows user as well. That'll be a blank workbook, welcome to Excel. This is not needed since I'm here to guide you through Excel. Apart from that, there'll be different templates. So what are templates basically is that there are a lot of different basic methods, calculations, lists that we do, which is very common and very widely used. So most of those templates are available here. So basically what happens in this, all the formula, all the work, editing, everything has been done for you already. You just need to go in and enter your particular data, and everything else shows according to that. If you see, these are a few templates that are available here. It will be different for you according to the version of Microsoft that you're using. Right now I'm using Microsoft Excel 2020, so it's going to be a little different and updated from yours, but it's not going to be very difficult for you. It's going to be very similar. If you see, there's a search button out here at the top. For Windows users, it's going to be an online search. So basically this search happens when you're connected to the internet. So I press here, and supposing I want to search for any topic, supposing I want to search for my business. So I just type in business, and if you can see, some of the templates relating to business are available here. Different kinds of templates are available. Hundreds and hundreds of them are available actually, and they're all divided into categories. So whatever category you want to search for, you can always look it up online. What are the different categories available in Excel, and whether something like that is matching for you, and you can always go and use them. However, for actually learning Excel, I would recommend you not using any of these templates, because it's very important for you to learn Excel in the beginning before you actually start using templates, because it's easier, I agree, but it's not helping you. So let's go through this Excel from basics. So my blank workbook is what we are going to select, and we're going to click create. So a blank workbook has opened. So this is what is called a blank workbook. This entire thing is called a workbook in Excel. Now if you see these white boxes. So we are going to learn what these white boxes are. First of all, if you see A, B, C, D, these are written at the top. So what does this indicate? These are columns. These are called columns. Now these columns are not limited to just 26 columns, because A to Z is 26. If you see, as soon as we go to Z, we can see that the letters of the names of these columns have started from AA. So it's AA, AB, AC, AD, AE, and so on. And then it goes to AZ, and then it goes back to BA. So then it becomes BA, BB, BC, BC. So it continues going till there. If you want to see the last, it goes up till Z, that is XFD. That is a huge number of cells. Now, huge number of columns, sorry. Now if you see, these are called rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are rows. So Excel goes down to more than 10 lakh rows are available to us. Now these are columns and these are rows. Intersection of any column and any row is called a cell. So if I selected this, so this is called a cell. The green area selection is called a cell. Now each and every cell in Excel has its own name. You'll be wondering how each and every cell has its own name. So if you see, as soon as I selected this particular cell, the B column and the fourth row got highlighted. So the name of this cell is B4. Similarly, if I go to any cells, as soon as I went to this cell, K column and 26th row got highlighted. So the name of this cell is K26. Now if you see here at the top left corner, that same K26 has been displayed here. So if I moved on to here, L25. So this is called the name cell or the name box, whatever you want to call it. So basically you select any cell and the name of that particular cell comes up here. So this is D28. So this is called the name box. This is the column, this is the row, this is the cell, this is the name box. This is what we've learned till now. Now, if you see at the top, you can see these different categories here: home, insert, draw, page layout. What are these? These are called tabs. So whenever I say go to the home tab or go to the data tab, you have to go here. There's the whole tab. Now under each of these tabs, if you can see, there's a division that exists, right? So these divisions are called groups. So this is called the sort and filter group. This is called the data analysis group, or this is called the grouping, just the grouping. So this is how it exists. If I go to insert, I see this is the insert picture. Or if I go here, this is the merge and wrap, or this is the number. So everything related to the number comes under here. Now if you can see that a lot of these options have this small down arrow available, right? So what happens is that Excel tries to fit in as many features as possible in the front tabs itself. However, sometimes it's difficult for them to put in everything for some of the features because the features are way too many. So what they do, they put it under these arrows. What are these arrows called? These arrows are called drop down menus, or you can call them extension buttons. Any of them is fine. Now if I press this extension button, you see that there are so many different options available, right? Now supposing here, if I go here, merge and center is written. Now if I press the extension button, I see that merge and center, merge across, merge cells, unmerge cells. So there's so many features that are very similar in nature have been grouped together. Thus under each of these groups, different features exist. And some features are even more categorized into, so basically this is orientation. More of the categorization is put into these drop down boxes. Generally, if you see, the best part about using Excel out here is that you go to any of these features and you just go to this feature and it highlights what this feature is doing. So this says column as soon as I went to it. Now supposing I went to draw and I went to this. It's saying pen. If you use this, you'll be using a pen which is black in color and which is 0.5 millimeter. So it tells you exactly what you are doing out there with that particular. See, it's a new comment just written. So these are tabs, these are groups, or they are also called ribbons. Groups or ribbons, and these are drop down menus or extension buttons, whatever you want to call them. These are columns, these are rows, this is cell, and this is the name box. If you can see, there's another box here, right? A long box. This is called the formula box or the formula bar, whatever. I'll be letting you know how to use this formula bar later in the course. Now if you see, if you go down, this is called, if you see, it's written sheet 1. So what happens in Excel? Excel is more like a notebook for us. So what happens with every new page that you turn, a fresh starting comes, right? So that's what Excel does too. With every different sheet, you have a new starting. So now if you see right next to sheet 1, you can see a plus sign written out here. So as soon as you press the plus sign, a new sheet comes up, right? a new sheet comes up. Now sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4, it will go on and so forth. So when you're doing a exercise which requires 10 different parts to it, then you can always have sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. However, it will become very difficult for you, like if you come back to the file later, maybe supposing 10 days later, you're not going to remember what sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3 signifies, and you'll have to open each and every sheet to see what is inside it. Thus, Excel has this very amazing feature where you can name the sheet. So when I go to this sheet and I double click out here, as soon as I double click, you can see the entire sheet 1 has been highlighted. So now I can write whatever I want to name the sheet as. Here we'll be using an example of the different candidates and the marks scored in the last paper. Let's take the paper as CP1 and see what the different marks have been scored, which colleges they come from, which stage in actuarial science are they right now. So I'm going to name this CP1 dash database. Since I'm writing the database of students, I'm going to write CP1 and I press an enter. As soon as I press an enter, the name has been recorded now. Okay, so this makes it very clear for us in the long run. Now CP1 database. Now let's enter some data and make a table. So first, what am I going to do? I'm going to go to the first cell of this sheet, that is A1. So it is very important for us to write the explanation of what the sheet is doing right in the first cell or in the first row of the sheet, so that as soon as someone opens that particular sheet, that the contents of the sheet is very known. It's known and it's a given. I know that this is happening in the particular sheet. So now what am I going to write? CP1 dash student database. Okay, and then I press an enter. As soon as I press an enter, you see that I went down to A2. That is the next row. Now I'm going to tell you one very important thing. In order to complete an Excel file with great efficiency in as the least time possible and in the easiest way, the easiest way for the same is to know all the keyboard shortcuts. Basically, if you can complete an Excel workbook using only the keyboard and not using your trackpad, then it's the best way to do an Excel file. It's going to become very easy in the long run. Once you get the hang of it, it's going to be really easy in the long run. So what are we going to do here is learn some shortcuts first. So as I press enter, I saw that I went off to the next row. Now what if I want to go back to the row at the top, that is A1, I want to go back to the first row. What am I going to do? I'm just going to press shift and enter, and that's how I go back up. Now I want to go right. I just press tab, and here I am at the next column. So for row changing, it is enter, and for column changing, it is tab. Now I want to go back to the A column. What am I going to do? I'm going to do shift plus tab. So shift basically reverses the function. So we used enter, shift plus enter, tab, and shift plus tab, right? Now what are we going to do is we're going to enter the data of some of the candidates. What are we going to do for that is I'm going to press enter and enter again. I like to keep one line, one row empty. So here I'm going to write candidate number. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to use tab and I'm going to write name. That is the name of the particular candidate, and then I'm going to do tab. However, now if you see that candidate number, just N is visible and everything written beyond it has vanished. But in reality, it has not been vanished. It has just been at the back, right? It has become hidden. So how are we going to make it visible? Is the easiest way to make it visible is you go between the two columns that are concerned. That is, A column is concerned here and the B column is concerned here. Since A is too big and B has already started before time, right? So what I do is I go at the exact spot between A and B. If you see, my cursor from here to here has changed. It has become a double arrowed cursor. So here I go to this place and I double click. Now if you can see, the width of column A has become exactly equal to the maximum width that is required. So what the double click does out here is that it expands the width of the column according to the maximum value that is needed in that. So you got it. This I double clicked and it became equal to the maximum width. Now I go back to name. After name, I'm going to write age. Then I'm going to write the college that that person was studying, is studied, anything. Then I use tab again. Then I write papers passed. Then I write tab again, and then I write marks scored. And then I press enter. Right now, if you see, when I press enter, it went down to C4 instead of F4. This happened because Excel knows that we are entering data one by one. We are entering data according to each row. So when you press enter, it knows that it has to go down and start entering data from where we begin. Since after name we had stopped to format the column width, that and then started with age, so it went down to age. In case we had started from the first column and written directly up to the end, it would have straight away gone down to A4. Okay, so now we've entered candidate number, name, age, college, papers passed, marks scored. Now let's write some data, enter some data. Like for the first one, I'm entering, supposing actuarial science underscore 100 or 101 is the first name. Then I tab and a random name, supposing. Okay, then again tab, age, college. I can do Christ College, papers pass, first 9. Then I'm doing a tab, mark score, disposing 74 that person, and then I press enter. So see what happened right now. As soon as I press enter, it went on to A5 because it knows that I'm entering data row wise. Right now let's enter some more data. Okay, now once I entered the data, what can you see? Some of the college names are not that visible, the entire names are not visible. So like we did for the last one, we are going to expand the width of the particular columns. However, you must be wondering that it'll be very laborious for us. Supposing if we have 20 different items or 30 different items, it'll be very difficult for us to go to each and every column and do the same thing. So what am I going to do for that is I go to the first column, that is A. I select that column just by pressing on A. Now what I do, I'm going to select up till F. And how am I going to, how am I going to select up till F is that I'm going to hold the mouse down with one click and then move the cursor up till here. So everything has been selected. Now what I do, I go in between any two cells, any two columns basically, any two columns, and I see the arrow changing, my cursor changing to a double arrowed cursor, and then I press double click. As soon as I double click, all of the particular columns change its width to the maximum that is required for that particular, column. Now that I have expanded it to that, if you see here, the column width has increased for college, papers passed, name, everything. However, for age, if you see, the column width has reduced significantly. Now you'll be wondering, why has it reduced? We are taking the maximum. So that's what it's exactly doing, is that no more than that little width is required out here, because age and the numbers that are covering under it is enough to be written with under that width. So it just takes the what is best for us. Now supposing we might not want to have the width exactly equal to the maximum, we can have a specification of the particular width that I want, or maybe I want all the columns to be equal width. So what am I going to do is, in that case, I select all of these cells and I again go to the double cursor. Now instead of double tapping in order to increase it to the maximum width, what I do is I hold down the cursor and I move it. So whatever is the column width of my E column is going to be the width for all my columns that have been selected. Supposing I put it here. So if you see now, all of these have become equal width columns, right? However, we don't need this now, so I'm just again going to go back and make it to the maximum that is needed. Now what are we going to do? Now this is very clear how we're going to work with it. Now what am I going to do? Now since this is a table and it's not very clear what all this table is doing, what am I going to do is I'm going to use some different highlighting techniques so that it's very visible what I'm actually doing. So I go on to the first, that is A1 CP1 student database. I select this particular cell. Now what I want to do is first I want to make it bold. It should stand out. Now I go up here to the home tab and I select B. Now if you see, this has become bold. Now I want to increase the size of the letters. So what am I going to do? I open this and I make it supposing 16. Now this is increased. Okay. I want to underline it as well, so I do U. So for all of these, so for B, I, U. So B is for bold, I is for italics, and U is for underline. Shortcuts exist on the keyboard. So what am I going to do? What are the shortcuts for this? Is for bold, it's Command and B for MacBook users, and or Control and B for Windows users. So basically, you use Control and B for Windows users, and for italics you do Control and I. For underline you do Control and U, and it's the same for MacBook users, that is Command B, Command I, and Command U respectively. So it becomes very easy when you are doing a large data. Then you have to select 5 things, go up to here, but instead you can just enter Command B. That's how you do it here. Now I go down to the third. Now I want to also highlight what is written in each of these lines, right? So what am I going to do? There are a number of ways that you can do. So first of all, so what I can do is I can select the entire row. Since I want to do it for each and every heading, so it's very easy for us to do it for the entire row. Now I select the row here. So basically I went to 3 and I tabbed on 3. So all of this has been entered. So now even if I enter some additional data here later, it's all going to take the same formatting that I do right now. So what am I going to do right now? And I'm going to select this and I pressed a Command B. It made it bold completely. Then I select a Command I, so it italics. You can see that it has been italicized. Okay. So this is how you do it for the entire line. Now if you see that this CP1 student database has been given, but supposing what if I go up here later and I want to enter CP2 database. So it's not going to be that indicative that CP1 database is from here till here. So what we can do for this is we can spread this writing across all of these cells such that it covers up till this table, up till this particular column. So I select this and I select till the end of the table here. This is what I've selected. Now what I do is I go to merge and center. All of you can see that here in the top you have merge and center. So once you select merge and center, what it does, it changes all of these cells. It removes all of the barriers in between the cells and makes it as one cell. So this becomes A1 now. Whenever you have to go up, supposing I'm going up from this particular column, it's D2 and then it goes to A1. Because this entire thing has become one cell now. We merged and centered it. So all the data that comes under this all stands for CP1 database. Is that clear? Now what are we going to do? One last thing. Let's work on one last thing. Is supposing, here if you see, I've just written papers passed. However, I'm writing the number of papers passed. So how am I going to edit the data? So for editing this particular data, if I go on the cell and I start typing, you see everything that was written earlier got completely erased, right? So how do we make sure that this data is not completely erased? There are two different things that we are seeing out here. One is called being on a cell and being in a cell. When you're on a cell and you start writing anything, everything that has already been written gets completely wiped out. However, when you are inside a cell, you are editing the cells. So when you have to go inside a cell, you go to this particular cell and you double click. Once you double click, you see there's a cursor that comes inside. Now I go here, move my cursor before papers, and I write number of space papers passed and enter. Is that okay? That is the difference between being on a cell and inside a cell. That's how we did it. Now if you see, this is not covering the amount of space that we require, so I double click it. This is how we do. However, supposing I made a change, supposing I made this as 67, by mistake it was a typing error and I pressed enter. Now what am I going to do so that this does not happen? Like, I can go back. What if I don't remember what was already written? Right? I don't remember it was 9. I don't remember what number was written. So what am I going to do? I'm going to use the easiest way to undo, that is Command plus Z for MacBook users and Control plus Z for Windows users. So I just do Command plus Z and here it's back. Okay, this is a very important tool. You will really need to remember Command plus Z because it's going to save your life hundreds of times, right? So now this is ready, and one last thing that we are going to do here is save this book. It is very important to save your progress. If you do not save your progress, and if the power goes out or your laptop loses battery or anything like that, you lose all the data you've been doing. So what you do is save the data. So save, generally if you go up here in case of Excel, you file and save and save as options. I'll tell you the difference between save and save as options. And in case of in case of Windows users, you'll find your Excel start button out here. If you press that, the dialog box opens where there'll be an option for save here, written save, and where you can save your file from there. So now let's save. I selected the save. It came up to here. So what am I doing out here is, first of all, here I'm selecting the location. So I want to save it on my desktop. First thing that I do is save it on my desktop. Now if I want to take any particular file that is already there, folder that is already there, then you select it. Otherwise you just select desktop. You can also save it on your drive. It depends on what the features your desktop is offering. Now from desktop, you go up here. If you say save as, the same thing appears in case of Windows at the bottom, so it's not going to be very different. For MacBooks, it's at the top. For Windows, it's at the bottom. You can write save as. I'm going to save this as database of CP1, because I'm just writing CP1 right now. I save it as database of CP1. Now if you see down here, a file format option is available, right? Right now, since we are working with Excel, then .xlsx is fine for us. However, if I press this, I can see these are the different ways I can actually save this file. If I want to convert it into a PDF for exporting, I just select PDF for that. First, let's save it as Excel. So I save it. This is given as default Microsoft Excel, since I'm doing it here, Excel workbook, and it's saved in the desktop and as database of CP1, and I press a save. So now this particular workbook exists on your desktop as database of CP1. Now what if we want to save this entire same thing in the form of a PDF file? In that case, a save as option will help. File and save as option. Okay, I went to file, I went to save as, I went to desktop again. It's named as database of CP1. If I want to change this name, it's completely up to me. Now I can go and change the file format. Supposing I selected PDF, right? It's a workbook or it's a sheet, so you can select it. If you want the entire, if you have multiple sheets, if you select workbook, then all of these sheets are being saved. But however, if you've done particular different work in different sheets and you just want to save the current working sheet, you just select sheet in that case. So other sheets are not going to come, only the CP1 database sheet is going to come in that case. However, I'm selecting workbook here and I select save. So now it's exporting, and just see. So this is, so if you can see this line out here, it shows how and where the file is being divided, right? I go to my desktop and see database of CP1 as a PDF. Let's see how it looks like. So here, and then goes to the next page and it puts in numbers of papers passed and marks scored. So see, this is equivalent to one A4 size in PDF format. That's why this division exists. So next division starts from here to here. So if you want to put this data in PDF, you have to edit the data. We'll be seeing that later in our work. Now, so that's all for now. Just one last tip before we leave for today from today's class is how to save a database, workbook, whatever you want to name it as, with using your keyboard. So in case of Windows, you use Control plus S, and in case of a MacBook, you use Command plus S, and it's saved. Now it's already saved, but I want to save. But I want to do a save as option. I want to change it into a save as option. So what am I going to use? I'm going to use Shift Command plus S or Shift Control plus S, whichever goes for your operating system. So I'm using Shift Command plus S, and this opens the save as data box. Very easy. It's very important for us to save our file as and when we work. So when we are working throughout, just because we've saved the data once in the beginning, it does not mean that we do not continuously keep saving the data. It is very important for us to continuously save the data. Continuously means probably if I'm working for 5 hours, I need to save it every half an hour. There's no frequency. You should just have it into the habit to just press Control plus S. That's all you need to do while you are entering any other data as well. Because once you lose the data, it is very difficult to recover that data. Okay, so on that note, I'll be signing off for today. Thank you, everyone.